Now, the Russian invasion on Ukraine enters the 28th day. In a big win for Ukraine, its troops were able to regain control of a strategically important suburb region of the capital city of Kyiv, which has faced Russia's relentless onslaught for 4 weeks now. But there is no respite. Putin's army has shelled multiple buildings in Kyiv's Obolon. Loud explosions were heard in eastern parts of the city, and according to reports, over 30 rockets were fired in Kyiv. Russia has launched cruise missiles from Sevastopol area of Crimea that has been occupied by Russians. In the Marinka town in Donetsk region, scenes are devastating. In fact, all sites of destruction visible there, as charred houses, buildings have been reduced to complete rubble. In Mariupol, Russian troops can be seen launching an all-out attack with military tanks strolling on the streets of the city. In Chernihiv, Russian troops bombed a bridge that connected capital Kyiv. The bridge was used for humanitarian aid and the evacuation of civilians.
Продовжуємо працювати на різних рівнях і заради того, щоб спонукати Росію до миру, до припинення цієї жорстокої війни. Працюють українські представники в переговорах, які продовжуються фактично щоденно. Складно, дуже, часом скандально, але крок за кроком йдемо вперед. Станом на цей день у місті перебувають близько 100 тисяч людей у нелюдських умовах, в повній блокаді. Без їжі, без води, без ліків, під постійними обстрілами, під постійним бомбардуванням. Вже не перший тиждень ми намагаємося організувати стабільні гуманітарні коридори для маріупольців. І майже всі наші спроби, на жаль, зриваються російськими окупантами, обстрілами або свідомим терором.
All right, let me quickly cut across to Ina Segenko, who's a Jew, a volunteer right now. They've managed to flee to Nice, France. We also have Ariel, who's a Ukrainian refugee. Ina, over to you first. If you can give us a sense of what you see happening in Ukraine now, this kind of humanitarian crisis that we stare at, never have we seen before in modern world. How do you look at this war after you fled?
War is terrible. Just today's morning, I have a rocket bombing in district where I live. We don't have something military nearby. It just houses. It's just peaceful people who were sleeping. And we have heavy bombing in our district. I didn't know if I can go to synagogue today because of bombing. The war is terrible. I had to send my children abroad because I was afraid for their lives. But we are here, we're in Kyiv, we are struggling, we are ready to struggle, and we need support from all over the world. Because it's nowadays Russian fascism. We should stop it. Our community, Jewish community, is supporting not only Jewish people. We are working for everyone. Our Rabbi, Jonathan Markovich, he is traveling to Ukraine, out of Ukraine. He's bringing here humanitarian aid. Some people who lived in our community center where I'm actually is, because they don't feel safe at their home, so they lived there. It's about 50 people. They have they have place to sleep. If you can see just behind me, it's the place when we are usually praying, but you can see the beds nearby. That's the situation in Kyiv. A lot of volunteers who works here and in other communities help to elderly people also who staying at home, who couldn't move. They deliver them food and medicine they need, but the medicine is now is almost over, so we need help from all over the world with humanitarian, with medicines, with food for such people, and with money for their
Ina, I want to ask you, aren't you afraid of your own life? Because we know that even stepping out at a time like this is only exposure and life-threatening to you. And you are volunteering. You've decided to stay back and help your people, help the other communities, and that's great of you and shows your courage. But aren't you frightened at all? What's keeping you motivated entirely through this?
Look, I'm active all my life. I lived in Soviet Union. I know what the Soviet Union is. I don't want my children to live in such a country like Soviet Union. That's why I'm ready to fight. My husband is ready to fight. He is helping to our local troops. So I have my mom, who is quite old, to be moved. So that's why I send only my children abroad, because I'm worried for them. But we are ready to fight. We are ready to help. I'm actually a member of Council of Autism Europe. We have a very big structure to help autistic children in Ukraine. It's also done with our Jewish community, not only for Jewish people, for everyone else. Now in our kindergarten, also about 30 people who live there in kindergarten. Because all children are somewhere, we even doesn't know where they are.
It's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking to hear.
It's hard to say, but it's hard to say. But a lot of people in Ukraine are ready to fight and to help and to be volunteer for our freedom. It's not a war between some kind of nations or nationality. It's a war between ideas.
It's humanity. It's humanity. That's what we need. That's what we need to live by. Unfortunately, the war there completely overlooks the struggles of civilians and innocents who are really bearing the brunt of this kind of atrocity. Thank you very much. Though I'm going to quickly cut across to Ariel, who's a Ukrainian refugee. Ariel, what we see here is disturbing. Give us your motivation here to stay and help and volunteer at this point in time. How do you see this war unfold? What does it remind you of?
So actually, I'm not a refugee. I'm from the Jewish community, and we help, as Ina said right before me, we're helping people. And we went from Ukraine to Romania, to Hungary, to help a lot of people to go outside Kyiv, to go outside Ukraine. And as Ina mentioned before, the situation in Ukraine, in Kyiv, in Ukraine is very, it's very bad. Because in Kyiv stayed a lot of people that can't, some of the people can't leave Kyiv because they're very old. And some people want to fight, want to stay in Kyiv because it's our home. Kyiv, Ukraine, is our home. And we need to help all of those people. But also we have a lot of people, a very big amount of people, kids, old people, that we have managed to take them outside Kyiv, outside Ukraine.
Yeah.
And we need to support all of them. And now all of as we can, probably everyone knows, but here we can see it much clearer. We have people in all over Europe that refugee, and we must help them.
Ariel, you are from the Jewish community. Is there any plan that you have laid out as such to help your own people as such, and even your loved ones, those from Ukraine entirely? Any plan that you're going by, or is it just as it comes on your way?
So of course there is a plan. First of all, our plan is to go, that the war will be over and we will be managed to go back home, because Ukraine is our home. But until there, people in Kyiv, in Ukraine, we help them with food and medicine as much as we can. And people outside Ukraine, so it's the same. Everyone has different situation, but usually we help people with houses, where to sleep, hotel, food, and actually now we need to find a kindergarten for a lot of families.
Right, I really appreciate you doing what you're doing at this time in the face of the hostilities and this really tense environment. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us and sharing what you think of happening, what you think is happening in Ukraine, and of course your help is really truly appreciated. Now, we see how nuke threat looms large over Ukraine as Russia issues a nuclear warning, refusing to rule out use of of nuclear power, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has asserted that Russia would only use nuclear weapons in context of the ongoing war in Ukraine if there was an existential threat. This is not the first time that Putin has hinted at using nuclear power against Ukraine. After Russian troops invaded Ukraine, Putin on February 28th had claimed that he had asked Russia's nuclear forces to stay on high alert. Now, Russian troops had also attacked premises of Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, and attempts were also made to capture Chernobyl power plant.
Shelters.
Now, let me cut across to Chetty, who brings us the highlights of really the 7 reasons to why Putin is now going nuclear. If he in fact, he's flexing his muscle there. Here are the reasons to why he may just do it.
I'm here to tell you reasons that Putin wants to go nuclear. Number one, the first reason on your screens, no significant gains even after 4 weeks into invasion of Ukraine. So that's the first reason why Putin would like to go nuclear. Number two, significant reverses. Death of Russian soldiers as well is a big concern at the moment for Putin. Point number three, they're losing tanks, jets, choppers, armored vehicles as well. That's the third reason why he perhaps might just end up going nuclear, but only if he faces an existential threat. That is what Russia's stance is. Number four, they're yet to gain full control of Mariupol. They still haven't got it. And number five, they've lost Kyiv Suburbs to the Ukrainian army. They never expected such resistance coming in from Ukraine. Now, the West is standing absolutely, resolutely with the Ukrainians, with the country of Ukraine. And number seven, there are sanctions by the West that are now beginning to bite Russia. So these are the top 7 reasons why he wants to go nuclear.
Now, we see 2 different leaders with 2 different ideologies, but it's Russian President Vladimir Putin versus Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, not just on the battlefield, but also in terms of the visible lifestyle choices that they've made, while the citizens bear the consequences of combat. While one is seen connecting with people of his country in basic khaki t-shirt, the other one refuses to let go of his materialistic choices as the war between the 2 nations rages on.
War, politics and fashion. Yes, it's Russian President Vladimir Putin versus Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Not just on the battlefield, where 2 nations are in the midst of a full-blown conflict combined with diplomacy, but also in terms of the visible lifestyle choices they make while their citizens bear the consequences of the combat. And during a crisis like this, what connects a leader the most to his people is the kind of attire they wear. An attire that makes them feel they're not alone in this battle to protect the sovereignty and retain freedom. President Zelensky won 1 million hearts for the same, as he gracefully opted out of his diplomatic navy suit and has been wearing basic khaki t-shirts ever since the Russian troops invaded Ukraine. His t-shirts aren't just ordinary, but in fact hold a deeper meaning. Rather, a symbol of solidarity, and the cross embroidered on them is for his country's brave soldiers. That's not all. His simplistic, yet the most relatable and accessible garment at this time of crisis created a new fan base for him across the world. Netizens came out in support of Zelensky when one of the American lawmakers, Peter Schiff, right after his video conference with him, took to social media and wrote, "I understand times are hard, but doesn't the president own a suit?" While this was about the humblest president whose only motive is to stand in solidarity with the people of his country. His Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, also currently the reason behind the distress around the world, including the citizens of his own country, on the other hand, is known for his elaborate lifestyle. From designer high-end branded clothes to luxury watches, he has it all and unapologetically flaunts them too. In fact, recently, while addressing a pro-war rally, he wore a puffer jacket worth 25 times the average monthly salary of people in Russia. What's more, he paired the $14,000 Loro Piana coat with a $3,000 roll-neck jumper from an Italian brand, Kiton. His super expensive choice of clothing for a public appearance during a crisis like this leaned more on the masculine side of the fashion spectrum. And this, of course, not only led to criticism but also highlighted his insensitivity furthermore, as his citizens in Russia stand in long queues outside grocery stores for basic necessities. So yes, while there may be spectrums Putin and Zelensky don't align with, but their choice of attire is surely one of them that's hard to miss. Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
All right, stay with India Today on this continuous coverage from battleground Ukraine. On your screens here, we're showing you 6 defining images of the 6 cities that have been battered after Russian forces have managed to attack most military establishments. In fact, civilian infrastructure also now down to ruins. These images showing how this war has taken a huge toll on Ukraine and its mega cities. We're going to take you through more on that on the other side of a short break. Stay tuned.
Соня, какое сегодня число? 22-е?